Welcome back, everybody. This is AndrewDFS, correspondent with FFMetrics, back for week 4. We're going to preview the DraftKings Mainslate competition, walk through lineups, stacks, receivers, talk through all the chalk. But before we dive in, I wanted to point you guys to FFMetrics, a site that's ran by a brilliant scout, R.C. Fisher. If you haven't subscribed to him already, go to his site, ffmetrics.com. You'll get weekly projections, commentary of all the games, and the best scouting that you can buy on the market. Follow us on Twitter at FFmetrics, and we also have a main Twitch handle, FFmetrics, which RC goes on right before the games, walks through like the injury reports Sunday morning and everything. So definitely something that you guys want to subscribe to and be a part of. So without further ado, my name again, AndrewDFS. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys take something out of this and apply it to your lineup, and it's a successful lineup for week 4 because there's a lot of opportunity in this slate. So let's kick things off. We'll preview the games very slowly, very quickly. From from the 10 a.m.s to the 4s. We're not talking about the 6 a.m. or the nighttime game. So first one, Dolphins-Bills. Everyone's expecting this to be a shootout. The over-under's 53.5. So definitely you're going to have people putting some weight on the fantasy players there. Hill, Diggs, Tua, and Josh Allen. Vikings-Panthers. This one could get a little nasty in the sense that the Panthers are not really all that great. I don't think that 46.5 under is going to go over. That seems closer to like a 40-ish game total for me. So I don't know that I want to play too much there, but I do like some things about that game. Broncos-Bears, the game we just previewed were 2 winless teams. Now this is another game with 2 winless teams. So at least of the 4 winless teams, 2 of them are going to emerge victorious. I don't think it gets as bad as it does for the Broncos, losing by 50 points, I think. Miami dropping 70 on them. Look for them to have a bounce-back week this week against the Bears. I think you can go either way there, like if you want to play Fields or Wilson, but we'll talk about that more. Ravens-Browns with Deshaun Watson randomly questionable today. So that could get interesting. Over under 38.5, which is low, maybe good for defenses or running backs. Steelers-Texans, all of a sudden you have CJ Stroud really going off, but now he has to go up against a Steelers D-line that's really strong with TJ Watt, so talk about that as well. Rams-Colts, Anthony Richardson, I think, is expected to come back in this game. Rams coming off a Monday night loss where they didn't look all too great, so it could be a bounce back spot for them. Over under there's 45. I like that. Bucks Saints, we don't know if we're getting Carr here. Over under's at 40. Don't really love too much about that game. Commanders Eagles 43.5. Eagles heavy favorites here after the Commanders got smacked by the Bills last week. Makes sense, but I think the Commanders are a little bit better than what they displayed against the Bills. Bengals Titans. Bengals finally get the win they've been looking for Monday night, but now they have to go into Tennessee. So with all the offensive line problems they're having and Joe Burrow not looking 100%, we'll see who comes out of that game. Tennessee's a home underdog. Vrabel does really well in those situations. Over under 41 there. Not expected to be a high-scoring game, but Tennessee's secondary is weak. If Burrow was 100%, a lot of people would be dumping on him, but he doesn't look all that great to start, but perhaps this is the game. Raiders-Chargers, Jimmy Garoppolo was officially ruled out, so we don't know if we're getting O'Connell or Hoyer. If we get O'Connell, I like Adams in this, but if we get Hoyer, I'm a little nervous starting Adams. Herbert's another guy I like. He's going to be a chalky play this week, just given how well he did last week. And Allen's been unstoppable. I think Allen and Devontae both had 20 targets. So you have both wide receiver ones expected to be heavily utilized, each coming off 20 targets. Yeah, that's probably going to be chalky. Patriots, Cowboys, you have Mac going inside AT&T Stadium to take on the boys. Dallas burned a lot of people in survivor pools last week, losing to Arizona. This could be a bounce back game for them, but Patriots defense is good. I don't expect this to be a high scoring game, and I think the over-under is priced is set that way at 43.5. And last, you have Cardinals and 49ers. Niners with I think they're the biggest favorite this entire season, minus 14. We haven't seen a number that high. Over-under, there's 43.5, but most of that 43 is probably going to be from the Niners. But to be honest with you guys, Cardinals look pretty freaking good. So if I was just betting, I would probably take the 14 there, especially since Debo is questionable and Ayuk's coming off an injury, but he's expected to go. So I don't know. Cardinals just somehow hanging games. They look great all 3 games. So there's something there. I think Gannon's doing something right down in the desert. Okay, that was the preview. Before we go into DraftKings, let's look at the winner of the Millie Maker competition last week. So username, I'm going to do my best. CT Tourget. Did my best. Sorry, man. Threw up almost 300 points, guys. You deserve the million. Good job. Crazy lineup. I mean, you don't really see too many 300s, but this is it's hard enough to get to 200. The fact that this dude got close to 3, props. So let's go through it. Goff and Laporta stack. Excellent. Laporta was the highest scoring tight end last week. Goff, was a cheaper QB option. It wasn't the best QB option. I think even Stroud had a better game than Goff, but I like that stack there. Kenneth Walker going up against Carolina, where that game ended up being really high scoring because Dalton was playing and feeding Thielen, and you can see he played Thielen in the flex. So he didn't have a QB stack with that one, but he stacked a running back and a receiver, which is that's also a form of stacking, which could lead to high correlation there. But then he had this lineup's filled with stacks. Look at this. Now he has Mostert and Hill. I mean, Miami dumping 70 points, and Hill and Mostert combining for 70 DraftKings points themselves. Crazy stack. Keenan Allen, we talked about him in our preview last week. Dominated. 48 points, guys. When Eckler is not on the field, this guy is a machine. But the only problem is he's going to be very, very chalky now. So, I don't know. It might be the type of chalk you don't want to fade, though. So, then you have Tank Dell. Tank Dell has been crushing. I think he had a really strong week 2, had a great week 3. He had opportunities even in week 1. So he's going up against a Pittsburgh secondary that's not all that great. So Tank Dell's another option this week, but kudos to this guy for sliding him in there. And lastly, Buffalo defense. And this was one of my misses. I thought that Washington would put up a fight, but given the rainy conditions and all that, didn't really turn out that way. I upgraded Buffalo myself. I got a little discouraged when they couldn't take care of Zach Wilson week 1, but maybe that was them just getting shocked preparing for an Aaron Rodgers type of QB. Zach Wilson comes in, and they weren't really game planning for him or whatever, so I'll give him a pass there. But, I mean, you look at their 2 other games. They, last week they crushed the Commanders. The week before, they manhandled the Raiders, and now they're going up against a Dolphins team that dropped 70 points last week. So if Buffalo comes out of this game and looks great on defense, they're going to be at the top of everyone's power ratings, I think. Like, if they can manhandle Miami, I'm not saying they will, but if they could, people are going to be all over these Bills. So, we'll see what happens in that game. That's an interesting one. But without further ado, let's start talking about stacks that we like, stacks we don't like, and we'll also dive into chalk. So, we'll start with QB stacks as usual. So, if we start from the top of the list here, the most expensive QB is going to be Josh Allen. That's a perfectly fine play if you want to go with him. He's expensive. He's not particularly chalky. The chalkiest QB here is Herbert, who's priced at 7,800, and that's because he's going up against Vegas, and he's going to be playing in a dome. So I think people want to take advantage of that. Personally, like with Allen, I kind of want to play the running back in that matchup and just hope that there's a lot of that game's more about ball control and not fireworks. I think that's how that game could turn out, but I think a lot of people are gonna start stacking on Diggs, Hill. If you play someone like Cook or Mostert, those are sort of like negative correlations that you could get if you wanted to take a contrarian view on that Miami game, which is considered, Vegas thinks it's going to be the highest scoring, and I promise everybody in the DFS slate is going to want action on that too. So playing the running backs could give you a sort of like a hedge against everybody else. Jalen Hurts isn't bad either, but I don't think that I would want to play him this week. So even though Herbert's chalky, he's not so bad. Ownership percentage wise, and he's not over 20% or anything. So if you want to play him, by all means. The guy that is really chalky that you want to be careful of though is Keenan, and rightfully so. Week 2, Eckler's not playing, 18 targets. Week 3, Eckler's not playing, 20 targets, and Mike Williams goes down. So I mean, this guy's going to probably have 15 targets in this game. So this guy, he is the chalkiest play on the slate this week, but this is the type of chalk that I'm okay with, or it's you have the only reason why you would fade him is to be contrarian. There's really no, I can't really see a situation where this guy doesn't go off. But if you did want to go there, you can go to Palmer instead now that Williams is out. That's not terrible. So if you scroll down here, Palmer is going to be a pretty cheap play. Yeah, there he is, $4,000. That is cheap for a wide receiver too. I don't think Quentin Johnson's really going to get much run there. Now that I said that, maybe he'll explode. But I like Palmer too, but Palmer's also considered chalky. And then on the flip side, if you wanted a very expensive stack in this game, what you can do is Adams and Keenan. Adams isn't actually that chalky. He's not 20% plus. So I think that's more of the QB situation. So this is very dependent. So for me, I would play Adams only if I know that Aiden O'Connell is starting. I can't get behind Hoyer. He scares me, and I don't know that I want to trust him playing Adams. I could potentially get behind Myers with Hoyer, but yeah, Adams is way too expensive for me to put on to trust a backup. So, and a backup as bad as Hoyer. I mean, the guy's 40 years old now. So okay, that's the expensive stack this week. Now let's take you into a more mid-size reasonable stack. Kirk Cousins could be good too. He's also expensive at 7,100. Pairing him up with Justin Jefferson. I mean, Justin Jefferson's going to be chalky and expensive. We talked about this last week, so I'm not going to actually play them, but I just want to show you guys their salary. So Hill and Jefferson are getting priced over 9,000 now, and both of them, to their credit, put up 30 points last week. I think Tyreek put up 33. Justin Jefferson put up 30 flat. That's not enough for 9,000. For 9,000, you want at least 36 to 40 range. That's a lot of money. So you need them to explode. And a 30-point game on the surface, fantastic. Wow, that's great. But what you're doing is you're getting two 15-point plays from $4,500 salary, and that's not. I mean, it's okay, it's good, but it's not great, and it's not good enough to win the Millie Maker, in my opinion. So if you think that Justin Jefferson or Tyreek's going to explode, and by explode, I mean they need 40, and that's not easy to do, fine, do it. Stack Kirk, stack Tua. I prefer to find cheaper options and go with slightly less chalkier plays. Between the two, the one that's less chalky, I think this week is Hill. So if you wanna bite the bullet with the chalk, go to a Hill because that's a little less chalky than Kirk and Justin Jefferson. So okay, let's go to mid stack. Mid stack that I like this week is Mr. Matthew Stafford, and honestly, he's probably on the cheaper side, $5,700. I wouldn't even call it mid stack. So there are two ways you can look at this. You can do Puka and Atwell. This is a big stack here. So like this is, you're playing two pass catchers and Stafford, or you can choose one or the other. Tutu is chalkier in this situation because he's cheaper and he's pretty freaking good. But Puka, I don't know. He's coming off an injury, but he's expensive. $6,700 for Puka. Guys, week 1, he was like $4,000, and I think he was even cheaper than that. He was like $3,600. Week 2, he was also cheap. Monday night, he didn't really do much, so people are thinking like, oh yeah, Puka didn't really do anything Monday night. Now he's coming back. This is probably the last week where you can play Puka comfortably because Cooper Kupp's expected to come back. So, if you want to go, if you're just thinking like, hey, like I'm going Stafford, so that's an offset to the pool, and I'm just gonna go Tutu because he's cheaper, fine. But if you want the less chalky play, it's Puka. Another thing you can do here, you don't always have to go QB. You can also, if you want to mix someone in from the Colts, you could go with Anthony Richardson, who let's call this guy our mid play since he's 6,700 versus Stafford, who's 57. Anthony Richardson at 6,700, then you play Puka or Tutu. So that's like you play the QB from the opposite team and then the receiver on the way back. You could also do something like a running back here. You can play the opposing running back, who is Kyron Williams. He's at 6,000, but he's also very chalky, so be careful with him. But another way that you can do the Stafford stack that I like, just to give you guys like an idea, you can go Stafford, and then Zach Moss has been doing well as too. So if you wanted some Colts in your as a bring back piece, I think Moss is like 6,000. Where is he at? There he is, 6,000 flat. So you can go 6,000 and then pick between Puka and Tutu, or you can play both and see what happens. And hopefully that's a very high scoring game. But that wraps up the cheap stack. Another one you can do if you wanted to. So let's just go down the QB list. So we talked about Anthony Richardson. If you want to bite the bullet with Burrow and just maybe he's back and somehow miraculously cured from his injury, you can play him with Chase. I wouldn't recommend it, but I recognize that there's firework potential there, especially against Tennessee secondary. Fields against Denver. I mean, anything against Denver is a good play. So that's another one I like. I'd watch out for this one. Purdy against Arizona. Arizona's feisty. Debo and Ayuk not 100%. I know they pulled Ayuk off the injury report, but it'll be his first game back. And I think even Juwan Jennings is injured. Maybe that dude Ronnie Bell comes back and has a big game in this one too. But Arizona's feisty. I wouldn't really like get excited playing them. Wilson's a prime bounce back candidate. 5,800, like going against the Bears. That's good. I like that, and a lot of people will be off of him. So, like after you get crushed like that, you're due for a comeback. And CJ Stroud, our guy. If you guys followed FFMetrics and followed our off-season podcasts and everything, you would see how high we were on both Richardson and Stroud and how much we disliked Bryce Young, despite what the public was saying. So we've been on Stroud and Richardson. I'm happy to see the kid doing well. I hope he continues doing well, but I recognize that this week against Pittsburgh is scary. TJ Watt going inside his big brother's old house, JJ Watt's house in Houston. I don't know. I don't know how much I love that. I don't think Laramie Tunsil's playing either, so could be scary. And I'll wrap it up there, but I'll leave you with this. Well, one crazy one that I like. I'm feeling Pickett this week. I don't know why. If you wanna throw Pickett in there against Houston, they're in a dome. He's looking like, he got blanked by SF week 1. Week 2 he wasn't all that great. And then week 3 he started showing signs of life against Las Vegas. I think Houston's coming off a high against Jacksonville, and we'll see. I like the Pickett to Pickens play here. So if you want to do that to have some exposure to that, totally understand. I could see the logic. Let's talk running backs a little bit. I feel like we talk too much about QBs and receivers. CMC, 9,200. That is a pretty penny for a running back. And we just talked about it with Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill. If you're going to pay $9,000, you're going to want 35 to 40 points. He's averaging 25. It's not enough. And this is a game where I know I said Arizona's feisty, but there's another side to this story that Niners could dominate them. That isn't within the range of reasonable outcomes here. So if that's the case, do they really want to risk McCaffrey, or do they put in Elijah Mitchell, mix in some Jordan Mason? They played Elijah Mitchell a lot more in the Thursday night game against the Giants, maybe because CMC was only on 4 days of rest and they want to be careful with him. But maybe they view Arizona that way too. Like, we don't want to waste CMC here. Like, let's just keep the guy fresh. Eckler's out. Let's not talk about him. Pollard against New England. Hate that matchup. New England, for all the crap that New England offense puts us through, New England D, wow, they are fantastic. Held Eagles to 25 points, held Miami to 27-ish points, something like that, mid to high 20s, and the guys dropped 70 the next week, Like, Bill's got a defense, and say what you want about him. He knows defense. He can identify defenders. He should just hire somebody to just oversee that offense and draft offensive players for him, because outside of Gronk and Hernandez, the guy literally hasn't been able to draft any great offensive skill players. They've had good offensive line there, but yeah, and that Christian Gonzalez draft pick, that number 16 overall, again, for those of you that were FFMetrics subscribers, you would know how high we were on Christian Gonzalez, and when he was dropping down in the draft, we were kind of losing our mind. And at the same time, one of the things that drove me crazy and the reason why I was so low on the Lions is I wanted Detroit to take Gonzalez at 12, not Gibbs. They're barely using the guy. They're freaking running Montgomery 20, 30 times a game, And they had a chance to get a shutdown corner in Gonzalez and they screwed it up. And the Lions look really good, but they would look so much better if they had someone like Gonzalez on their team. It drives me crazy when teams draft running backs, tight ends super high. Those are cream of the cherry on top piece. You get, if you're KC or Cincy, fine. If you're Buffalo, fine. Not if you're Atlanta or Detroit. Like, there's so many other holes you need to fill up first before you like dabble with a running back or a tight end like that. I don't get it, but whatever. I'll stop complaining about that. I digress. I don't love Jacobs isn't going to be a chalky play, but something looks off with him. But maybe this is the week where he pops off. Definitely don't start Henry against Cincy. Cincy's a really freaking good defense. You don't want any part of that. Mostert, yes, I would. That's a good start and an offset to people playing the Hill and Tua stack. Why do I keep saying that? Because if Mostert's scoring rushing touchdowns, who's not getting a passing and receiving touchdown? Tua and Tyreek. So be careful about that. Next, Stevenson against Dallas. Sorry. Next one I like for similar reasons is Cook. Cook's getting a lot of the carries there. So I like that one. Stevenson, nah, I wouldn't play him against Dallas. Kamara making his return against Tampa. I like this one. New Orleans backfield is really like decimated. Like, I don't think Tony Jones is the answer there. I don't know if Jamal Williams is even playing. So keep in mind this is his first game back, but he's fully healthy. Like, he was suspended. So but the one thing that I don't love about this, if this was Derek Carr, I'd be all in on Kamara right now. But he didn't really do that great with Jameis, and I want to recognize that. So at 6,100, though, you have someone that can break a slate. Kamara's a slate breaker. He's done it before. He hasn't done it often in last year, but in the past, like he has broken a slate, and I hope that I get the opportunity. If I see Carr playing, I'm going to be very tempted to play Kamara. Kyron is another good one. Same with Zach Moss. We talked about both of them, but I want to be careful with Kyron because he's going to be heavily owned, but he's getting a lot of the carries. So that's a good off. Like, you can pick Tutu or Kyron. They're both chalky. Puka's the contrarian play there, believe it or not, because of his salary. So if Puka's just getting the TDs, you're going to be hurting a lot of people in your pool. Ashane or whatever, that guy had a hell of a week last week. I don't think Miami's going to be up 30 for the guy to get all those carries, and I don't think Mostert and Ashane are in a timeshare. I think Mostert's the clear one there, so avoid him. DeAndre Swift, he's looking really freaking good, and I think towards the end of the Tampa game last week, he started emerging as the lead guy. He's cheap here. He's going to be on the chalkier side, no doubt, but I like him. This is chalk I like, especially because Eagles, again, I think Washington's going to be playing better, but it's in the range of possible outcomes that Eagles blow out Washington. I shouldn't even say possible. It's possible Washington blows them out. It's a probable outcome. It's more like you can envision a scenario like that. You can't envision Washington blowing out Philly, but I can envision Washington keeping it close or Philly blowing them out. That's how I see those two games. I mean that game flow. Brian Robinson looking good. He averaged 7 yards per carry last week, and if Washington was in the game, he would have done way better than what he did, but he wasn't. And I don't know that I want to play him against the Eagles D-line with Carter and that Georgia wall. Well, Carter and the other guy, Jordan Davis. Yeah, no thank you. And Fletcher Cox, too. Rachaad White, we skipped over him. He's hard. New Orleans D is tough, but I love White. If you want to play him, he's getting RB1 usage, but like that O-line is freaking hot garbage, but he is getting a lot of the. So like if New Orleans says, you know what, you're not beating us with Evans, which Evans never really has a good day against New Orleans anyways, you're not using Godwin, like we'll let Rachaad White do whatever the hell he wants. That could be an out. Like, this guy's gonna mark my words, this guy will break a slate in one of these weeks. I'm not sure that it's this week. I want him against like an Atlanta or a shitty run defense. Pardon my language. Okay, let's scroll down. I don't like anyone here. A lot of people are saying, oh yeah, Zeke, revenge game. Fine. Like, he can plot in for 1 touchdown for 30 yards, but you're paying $5,000. 1 touchdown, 30 yards, 9 points. Not good ROI on $5,000. So, wouldn't do that. Roshan, this is kind of like the Ashane play, in that if you think Chicago's going to just just crush Denver, then Roshan's probably going to be part of that. Like, he could be the Achane of this week, but it's like, if you get 70 put up on you, like, I just can't see you like coming back flat 2 weeks in a row. I mean, that if Chicago just blows them out, like, Sean Payton, like, he could be on the hot seat way sooner than what people would have thought. And then lastly, I think Miles Sanders is injured or may not be playing. Keep an eye on Chuba Hubbard, who's looked better than Sanders and could have a crazy usage and come out of nowhere here. So love that too. One guy that we skipped over, want to give mention to Kelly. He can be an offset to Palmer, Herbert, and Keenan. Okay? So that he's not chalky at all. Like, if you want somebody to screw again, Herbert, chalkiest QB. Allen, chalkiest receiver. Palmer's not too far behind him. I think Allen and Palmer are 1 and 2. You want the offset to that? You want the sauce to sort of go against that? Play Kelly. He hasn't shown it. People aren't on him, right? Like, he hasn't done crap since Eckler's been out. But the guy, like, kind of went crazy in the preseason. Like, maybe he's just getting his legs underneath him. What a great week to do it, though, against the Raiders, right? Against your division rival in a dome. Like, there's a lot going on for Kelly in this one. So I like this. I like that play a lot, actually. Talking myself into it. And Javonte. Again, game flow got away from them, so they kind of pulled him out. But it's in the range of probable outcomes. I'm being very careful with my word choice. I don't want to say possible. Anything's possible. It's possible that the Falcons drop 50 points on the Jaguars. That's not happening. And it's possible that Ritter throws 500 yards. It's not happening. A probable outcome, because Bears and Broncos are both shitty, they can blow each other out. It can be a ball control game. It can be a Javonte game. So that's probable. And remember, they lost by 50. But, like, if they have any freaking heart, if Sean Payton has, like, a pulse of that locker room, there's something there. So, we'll see what happens with that. And then let's move on to receivers. We talked about we talked about the top two already, right? Talked about Jefferson and Tyreek. I don't want to talk too much more about them. But everyone here, like, let me just list them off. Diggs, he gets crazy volume. Like, I could see that. And he's not particularly chalky this week, which is interesting. I find it very interesting that Allen and Diggs aren't chalky. I would have expected the public to be on that stack. A very expensive one, if you got, like, for those of you that want to, like, play this, watch this. Go Allen. Go Hill. Yeah, this is an expensive stack. And you go Diggs. That's nuts right there. That's a lot of money. Then you gotta play your Tutus, you gotta play your Palmer, you gotta play your Roshan the rest of the way. But let me show you guys how you would do this. Just if you wanted to get a taste for what I would do. Maybe I go, let me have one. Let me have, I don't think I can fit in Swift and another 5,500, but let me put in some like 4,000 receivers. Let's go Tank. Let's go. Sorry, we're jumping ahead. I should have probably waited to do this, but I got kind of excited. Palmer. Flex. I mean, shit, if you're going Allen and Hill, you might as well go Kincaid in your flex. We're going all in on this. So this is the ticket. If you think that this is, if I'm full of shit, again, sorry, full of junk, whatever. Where is this guy, man? He should be 3,300. There he is, 3,200. This could be it. And then defense, got to go almost as cheap as possible. And go Arizona here, just so you have something you can pull up to the salary. And then running back wise, go Kelly at 53. And then at 52, I don't know that I would do Roshan. Might do Dameon Pierce. I don't know why I like that. I'll have to think about that, but that's how to do it if you wanted to play Allen, Hill, and Diggs. Not recommending you to, but I know some people out there want to do it, so that's how I would play it. Get out of here. Okay. And then, sorry, an error message popped on my screen. Okay. Cool, we cleared it. Now let's resume with the receivers. We went on another tangent. I need to behave myself. Too many tangents today. But yeah, everybody up here is pretty much good. Chase is going up against a really crappy secondary. So he's going to see his volume. Despite how good or bad Burrow is, he's going to target Chase. A.J. Brown might stay away from this one. Again, if you follow FFM, you'll know that the rookie cornerback that Washington drafted too, Emmanuel Forbes, pretty damn good. And Washington just got the doors blown off of them. So I don't know. I don't know that they'll go back-to-back weeks getting blown out. I don't think they're that bad. So we'll see. Waddle, 7,600 is a little too rich for me. Same with Smith, Lamb, Olave. Olave and Winston, though, maybe. I could see that. I could see that working, but Tampa's not exactly the easiest. Like, they have an okay secondary, so I wouldn't really target them. Evans, nope. 7,000, get out of here, man. There's no way I'm playing Evans at 7,000. Debo's hurt. Yeah, Evans against New Orleans never ends well. Puka, again, the price is like, it's a little heavy, but it's a good like contrarian play. Judy, if you want to do the Russell stack, you can put Judy, or you can go with like Brandon Williams if you want to get a little spicier, or Marvin Mims Jr. if you're not a Judy fan. That's the problem with the Russell stack. You really don't know who that wide receiver one is, which is kind of scary. Pittman could be a bring back piece too. He can be in the bring back piece with the Rams stack. It's not terrible. Ayuk, he got pulled off the injury report. Debo's hurt. This is going to be his first. I think this is his first game back after sitting out against the Giants. So I don't know if they're going to use him as a decoy again, like they did when he got injured in week 2 against the Rams. So be careful with him. Gabe Davis, 5,900. Yeah, Gabe Davis is the definition of a DFS play. The guy like literally has like 2 catches for like 2 touchdowns and 120 yards, or like nothing. So I'm not his biggest fan, but I see the logic. Cooper is getting a lot of volume, but just keep in mind that Deshaun Watson's questionable, and Ravens' defense is not all that great. As you saw, they couldn't even stop Gardner Minshew. So let's see. Tutu, I like 5,500. That's a good one. Pickens, I really like this week too. Myers is a good one regardless, if Hoyer or Aiden O'Connell plays. I like him either way. Sutton at 53, not terrible if you want to play him with Wilson. And then let's see where I want to end. I need to call out my boy. Hold on. Mr. Tank Dell. That's where we'll end. Tank Dell has been crushing for the past 3 weeks, but I'm sad to report that he is officially chalky. He is probably going to have more than 20% of people on him. I don't know that I would play him at that price. I'm kind of nervous to be honest with you guys. I mean, at that ownership level, I might just end up doing it because I love the guy. But yeah, I mean, he did well. He fell 1 yard short of another touchdown. Like I think he finished with like 5 catches, 145 yards, and a touchdown, and he fell just short of his second one. I was so freaking pissed, but it is what it is. That such is life. Now he's chalky. People know about him. I kind of want them to spike up his value so people get scared and say, I'm not paying $6,000 for Tank Dell. Kind of like what they'll say about Puka. Like, I'm not paying close to $7,000 for Puka. I will. I like him. As long as Cup's not playing. I like him. Thielen, I don't hate it because Minnesota's secondary is trash. And this is sort of a revenge game. But I don't know. I would have loved it so much more with Dalton. Bryce Young is just... Look, if Bryce Young has time, he's okay. But if things aren't perfect, Alabama perfect, mismatches everywhere. Like he folds. Like he can carve you up if you give him 5 seconds in the pocket if the receivers get crazy separation. But this is the NFL. Like that stuff like that is not very common. So for that reason, probably not going to play him or have any exposure to him. And then scrolling down, Palmer, 4,000 people are on him. Cheap price. Offset to Keenan. He's the second chalkiest guy. So again, the sauce to be contrarian this week is to play Mr. Kelly, even though he hasn't looked all that great. Mims at 3,900. Should we stop? I think we should stop. I don't think there's anybody else I want to talk about here. Ronnie Bell. We're going to actually dive into another platform today too, Fantasy Sports Logic, which is an optimizer and has ownership projections too. RC Fisher, founder, owner, FFMetrics, has been collaborating a lot with this website, with this like company organization, and they together they have podcasts pregame before on Thursday night before the game starts, obviously, and 2 weeks in a row they won the Millie Maker. But the problem is Millie Makers on a 1-game slate in showdown mode, typically you have multiple people finishing. It's hard to get unique there. But one of the guys that was called out on that podcast was Bell from San Francisco against the Giants, and he ended up scoring a touchdown that week. And then last Thursday, when they hit a million again, million split with like 70 people though. So I think the first week they got like 10 grand. Second week they got 18 grand. Not bad, guys. It's good money. But yeah, there they got the game flow right on Thursday night. Montgomery having a crazy day, and Detroit defense looking good. So that was sort of the recipe for how to get into the how to have the winning lineup for last Thursday. So I hope they keep the streak going, and we'll dive into that platform too. And hopefully they go 3 in a row, which would be freaking nuts. 3 Thursday nights in a row. If they get the Millie again, that would be crazy. And I hope nobody finishes up with them. They're finishing first place. Like I wish DraftKings would just give them $1 million, but they can't give 73 people $1 million. That would be a huge loss. Okay. Tight ends. Guys, the tight end last week to own was Sam Laporta. We talked about him on the pod, but this week it's a little bit tougher. It's hard because tight ends have terrible ROI, especially this season. Like Laporta was the play, but he only threw up 20. I mean, his salary was there; he was fine. But then like Kelsey at 7,000 or whatever, had only 19 points. Like, he doesn't get shittier than that. You're not even get 3x on that. I don't know why I'm cussing a lot today. I apologize for our younger audience. Well, actually, we shouldn't have a younger audience because you shouldn't be playing DraftKings if you're not like 21 or older or something. So I guess I can cuss all I want. Anyways, I wouldn't play Hawkinson. That 6,500 is a lot. You're asking for anywhere between 20, like high 20 points, and really that, if it's been done this season, probably only one person has done it. I don't think any tight ends gotten up to 25 this entire season. So yeah, don't want to gamble there, especially because Minnesota can just beat the bricks off those guys and blow them out. Yeah, Carolina's really bad. That could definitely happen. Andrews, not against Cleveland. Cleveland's a good D. I like Kittle. Kittle at 51. Kittle always has like one game per year where the guy literally explodes. And unfortunately, I could never time it. But like for the past 2 years, he's had like 1 or 2 games where he breaks the slate. Kittle is a slate breaker. And with Juwan Jennings out, with Ayuk first game coming back from an injury, Debo not doing fantastic, like him having that rib injury or whatever, and Arizona can't cover a tight end to save their life. This is a good play. I'm okay with it. If you want to pay up a tight end, Kittle's the way I would go. Hill is interesting because at 4,500 you potentially get someone that could play QB in the tight end slot and could throw up 30 points. It's far-fetched, but I would have, like, if you're submitting 150 lineups, you got to have one with Hill in it because he's a slate breaker too in his own right. He could easily, like, what if they say, yeah, screw Winston, we're just going to let Hill throw the ball around or whatever. So could happen. Goddard, Henry, I don't like. Higbee, questionable. I like that for my Puka and 2-2 plays if Higbee's questionable. Not that he's taking a bunch of targets from them, but makes me feel better about it. Don't like Komet. Don't like Njoku. Ferguson, not against New England. They're pretty damn good at covering tight ends. I'd play Muth, but Muth is going to be chalky. I think the chalkiest plays this week are Muth and Kincaid. Kind of surprising that Kincaid's chalky, considering that he didn't really play all that well last week, but it was kind of a rainy day. So even though Buffalo did drop a lot of points on them. I like Juwan Johnson too. He's been awfully quiet this season, so maybe he gets going at 3,300. Who else do I like? I would not play Zach Ertz. Niners are very good at covering the tight end. Logan Thomas is gonna play. Maybe I can maybe do Thomas. Chig, yeah, I don't trust that 27th ranking or whatever for Cincy, since he has a really good defense. Parham's another one. Guy I think had 2 touchdowns last week. Mike Williams is out. Never know. I don't like Gerald Everett, by the way. So Parham I like because it's 2,800. So like, if you want to go cheap at the tight end, you could do that. So if you're gonna do like the Allen and Hill and Diggs play or whatever, you can slide Parham in the tight end over Kincaid to get less chalky. And I think that's all she wrote here. I don't think I want to talk about anyone else. Yep. Okay. I'm okay. Now, let's talk about defenses, and then I'll flip over to the Fantasy Sports Logic homepage to show you guys what that's all about too. So, and we need to talk about chalk. Sorry, just dropped something really quick. We'll talk about the chalkiest plays of the week, even though we kind of hit that throughout. But defense, yeah, you could see the Niners at 4,700. That is really tough. You saw Buffalo throw up 32 earlier in the season. Dallas put up 40, guys. So Defense is getting a lot more love, but it's not common. 4,700 is a lot. I think that's one of the most expensive I've ever seen before. It's not common for them to even be in the 4,000 range, but I think this year DraftKings is pricing them up, so just be really careful about that. Like, Arizona finds a way to hang in games. So I don't love that 4,700 play. You're gonna need 20 points out of your D, which is 20, actually closer to 25 points. Like, no, 20. But anyways, it's a big ask. Eagles, a lot of people will probably play them just because Washington got smoked and Eagles have a good defense, but I don't think Washington's all that bad. Dallas against New England. New England always keeps games close, so nope. Pittsburgh against Houston. I'm not starting them against Stroud. Well, thank you. I like the Bengals. Bengals D is really good if you want to play that. Broncos at 37. Like, what the hell? Like, who the hell would play that? That's freaking nuts. Like, they literally gave up 70 points. Now you want me to pay 3,700 for them? Like, okay, that. Yeah, I wish I could fade the, like, I wish there were points for fading a defense. Like, there's no way in hell I'm doing that. Saints are a really good D. I would definitely think about playing them against Baker. Vikings, because they're playing Bryce, but Vikings don't really have the best D, so that could be one where Vikings go crazy. Would not play the Titans, not against Burrow. I don't care what he is. I'm not going to start a D against Burrow unless it's Cleveland. Cleveland has his number. Sorry, Burrow. I love you, but something about the Browns. What else? Chargers, maybe. Yeah. If Hoyer's playing, oh yeah. Yeah, if Hoyer's playing, I'm playing the Chargers D with Kelly. That is boom. There, you heard it here first. AndrewDFS, winner of the Millie Maker, because of that play. If Hoyer plays, if AOC plays, no, thank you. I'm scared of Aiden O'Connell. I would not play a defense against him. But hopefully hopefully McDaniels is stupid enough to play Hoyer so that I can take advantage of that. Pats against Dallas. Whew, that's spicy. That's really spicy because I tried this with the Jets, playing them against Dallas, and it bit me in the butt. And then the Cardinals did well against them. Like, I feel like I'm always a beat late. I think Bill's going to figure out Dak. Like, something about this game, it doesn't stack up well for Dak. I think Zeke's going to score a touchdown, but again, at $5,000, like, just be careful with it. And then Browns are the chalkiest D this week because they're really freaking good, and they're playing Baltimore in Cleveland. Yeah, it's not that Baltimore's bad. It's just that they're not all that great, and that Cleveland D is strong, guys. Like, but if Deshaun Watson isn't playing, I don't know. I kind of like DTR. Actually, if Watson's not playing, I don't know if that would affect my decision. And it would. If Watson isn't playing, guys, here's one for you. This kid did really well in the preseason. Please be cheap. 4,600 right there. Boom. If you want to go crazy, player Justin Jefferson, Diggs, Hill, you want all the brand name wide receivers, right? You want your Mercedes, Ferrari, Lamborghini, or whatever. Well, you're going to have a Pinto in the garage too. But this Pinto can go. Let me tell you that. I don't know what kind of analogy I just made up, but sorry if that irked you. And then cheapest one we talked about already. Like, if you're gonna play a bunch of high-priced people, yeah, Cardinals D. Gamble. They looked okay against that. Like, they are not doing half bad at all. Let's pull them up really quick at 2,200. They're cheap. Don't need much out of them, but yeah, I guess 19, 4, and 5. Like, it's opportunity cost. Like, if that helps you figure out, like, if that helps you get a player that's going to break his slate, it's okay to accept chalk and shitty ROI from your tight end and your D. It's hard to find the tight end that's going to hit. Just don't get a zero. And unfortunately, the Cardinals have the potential to give you zero or negative at the defense. But if you want to get crazy and play with them, your call. It's out there. Something in me also wants to shout out the Commanders and Bills here. Bills have been on a tear, but they are missing Poyer. So I don't love that for the Bills or playing the Bills D. And Commanders, I like them. I feel like that last game was a fluke. I think they're going to come out strong against Philly and shock people and keep that game close. I don't think the spread I think was like 9.5. I don't think it's going to be that close. I think it's going to be closer to like 3 to 4 points. There's upset potential there for sure. And if Washington gets blown out, I promise you guys, I'll shut up. I won't mention them again. And full disclosure, I am not a Washington fan. So this is the site, and hopefully it stays on because it just asked me to close out, so it looks okay. This is the Fantasy Sports Logic site. So Fantasy Sports Logic is an optimizer run by Daryl Snyder. They're also affiliated with like Sports Utopia site, so definitely check them out. And they're also we're also collaborating with them on the FFMetrics front. We're one of their inputs, FP2. So those are like RC Fisher's projections there. Again, in FSL's optimizer, Daryl Snyder and RC Fisher put together in that podcast 2 milli makers in a row, guys. That is not an easy thing to do. That one is luck. 2 is not a coincidence, okay? Like that there's something good going on here. And basically you can use this for ownership projections too to understand who's chalky, who's not. So like you can see here, Keenan Allen, 36%. He's going to be the chalkiest player on the slate regardless of position. You have CMC, 33%. That's high, guys. Like that is high. I'm more okay with Allen than I am with CMC. But something in me just wants to play the Chargers with Josh Kelly. Oof, like I'm getting so excited for that matchup. I don't know why. I need to calm down. Usually matchups like this is where I get burned when I get too emotional about it. Then you see Cleveland D, that also chalky, but again, you're okay accepting chalk on tight end and D. You're not looking for you play a bad D. Cleveland's not a bad D. You play a cheap D so that you can, allocate your money at other positions that could explode and give you 5x, 6x, 7x on the salaries. So, yeah, check out Fantasy Sports Logic. Check out FFMetrics. You can generate a bunch of lineups on this, and then it's not just the main slate, but it has everything here. So this optimizer is basically it looks like it uses 7 different sites, and FP0 blends them all together, and definitely a tool that you can have in your arsenal if you're a more serious player and you want to generate 20 lineups in a game. But I think with that, guys, we are at the end. I wish you all the best of luck. My name again, AndrewDFS. Subscribe to this channel, subscribe to FFMetrics, and get it into the mind of RC Fisher. Folks, it's not enough to you can have the best projections in the world, you can have the best optimizers in the world, but there's only one brilliant scout out there that time and time again, this guy just plucks out your winners. So definitely subscribe, follow him on Twitter, subscribe to his site. It's literally $9.99 a month. It's nothing. It's chump change, and you get full access to him all season. So best of luck, everybody. Have fun watching the games, gamble what you can, and yeah, whether it's a 10-cent competition or a $20 per entry competition, doesn't matter. Know your limits, have fun, and with that, we are out.